The Audi Q5, yeah, okay, so it's been around for a while now, and it's even had a midlife facelift a couple of years ago, but it's still a good looking car, isn't it? And it's especially nice in this sporty S-Line trim.
But this isn't just a good looking car, the Q5 is also an extremely practical vehicle too.
Okay, then the boot. Now, it's very big. It's not quite the biggest in class. For instance, a BMW X3 is 10 litres larger, but that's not worth worrying about because the space that you've got is very usable. It's a nice square shape. The parcel shelf is also very easy to remove. There we go. And look, it's got a handy little net there if you want to store some things underneath it. Now, I'm going to come back to that in a moment because first I want to point this out right. You've got some tethering hooks here, and you can get like accessories such as this net here to tie things down in the back, or maybe you could use this to trap a small animal for your lunch. Don't know why you'd want to do that really. Also, you can get lots of different accessories for the boot, and one of the things we've got here is a ski bag. You put your skis in there. But bizarrely, this particular model that I've got here hasn't got a ski hatch, which is annoying, and it hasn't even got a central seat that folds down on its own while leaving the two seats there like some of its rivals, which is also annoying. And another thing that's annoying is there, look, we've got, well, there's no spare wheel. We've got some storage under here, but there's no spare wheel. It's just a compressor and sealant if you get a puncture. So yeah, you know, a proper off-roader would have a proper spare wheel, but we can let it off. You know, these things are meant to be on the road most of the time anyway. If you look at this, you've got no load lift really to lift stuff over, so it's easy to load the car. And if you need to carry, well, longer items, you can just lower the seats here from the back by pulling these levers, and then you do have to walk around to click them in place, and then you do get a flat low bay. Look at that. And the overall volume of the Q5 is second only to the ginormous Land Rover Discovery Sport, which is really good. And to put the seats back, you just, there we go, you just put them back in place, nice and simple. Now, you can actually get a Q5 with rear seats that can move forwards and backwards by 10 centimetres for added practicality. And I said I was going to come back to the parcel shelf. Well, if you have those seats, you get a little gap where you can just slot the parcel shelf in when you're not using it. But I figured out a way that you can actually store the parcel shelf even with these normal seats.
All you do is fold the shelf in half, release the rear seats part way, slot the folded shelf behind them, and then push them back as far as they will go until the seats lock into place. Et voila!
Okay, so one of the problems with putting the parcel shelf there is that you can't then recline the seat backs. But it does allow me to show you this car with the seats in the most upright position, and even when I'm sitting dead straight, you can see I've still got lots of headroom. And for reference, I'm 179 centimetres tall. Kneeling is very good as well, but if there is one problem, it's this centre seat. Now, it's actually all right. You don't sit too high, so the headroom's still good. The problem is with this huge hump in the floor there, which takes up quite a lot of space, but there is just about enough foot space for 3 people, so you can get away with it. And one of the features I actually like about this car is the Isofix fittings for the child seat. If you look, you just access them by flipping out this little cover, and it's dead easy to get to the fixing bar. On some cars, that's hidden away between the gap between the seat backs and the seat bases, and it's a real faff. That makes it easier to fit a child seat. Now, on the subject of safety, I should point out this car has 6 airbags as standard. There's also a system which can tell if the driver's starting to fall asleep, and it'll warn you. And the electronic stability program can tell if the car's got a roof box on it, and it adjusts its sensitivity to account for the change in the centre of gravity, which is pretty clever.
The Q5 also impresses with its cubby spaces. The door bins are large both up front and in the back. There's storage under the central armrest, and the glove box is large, though the dividers limit exactly what you can put in there.
Okay, so the Audi Q5 has such an extensive array of standard equipment, it's going to be hard for me to remember even part of it, but I'll give it a go. So, as standard, all cars get a colour screen for the infotainment system. There's another one for the driver for all the driving information. You've got DAB digital radio, there's USB input, there's Bluetooth. You've got a glove box that's cooled by the air conditioning. You don't just get normal air conditioning, you get tri-zone climate control, so the driver can have their own temperature, the passenger can in the front, and even the rear passengers, they can set their own temperature as well. You've also got automatic headlamps, automatic windscreen wipers, there's rear parking sensors, which is handy on a big car such as this. You've also got alloy wheels, of course, and is there something else? Yes, I know, there's leather as standard, though if you look down here, you'll notice this car has leather and Alcantara seats, and that's because it's the highest specification S-Line version, which also gets some added sporty bits and pieces.
This helps the Q5 feel suitably posh. In fact, the fit and finish of the materials is impressive. And despite getting on a bit now, the interior design still looks good. The Q5 is available with 2 turbo petrol engines, but forget about them and go for a diesel. There's 2 3-litre diesels, including a bi-turbo in the SQ5, and it can get from 0 to 62 miles an hour in little over 5 seconds.
The 2-litre diesels are a lot slower. Well, they are on paper, but the numbers don't tell the whole story, because actually when you're driving them, their in-gear shove is pretty good, that they feel a lot faster than you think, and they're fine actually. Plus, Audi says they'll do about 47 miles per gallon. Now you probably won't quite get that out when you're driving, but it's going to be better than what I'm getting in this 2-litre petrol, which is 22 miles per gallon, which I think is about the same economy that the Space Shuttle does.
The Q5 is a pretty easy car to drive. You sit up nice and high, so visibility is good, and the large door mirrors help you see what's around you.
The Q5 feels very much like a saloon car to drive actually. I mean, there's hardly any rolling around in the corners like you'd expect from a tour vehicle, and of course you've got Quattro all-wheel drive grip for that added bit of security.
However, there is a trade-off for the sporty drive, and that's the ride quality, which is quite bumpy.
Whatever you do, do not get the sport suspension, because then the ride is just way too firm. I've got some other more minor niggles for you, right? The steering, it's really light normally, and then you turn in the wheel and it still feels light, and then you turn it just a degree more and it becomes artificially heavy, which is just a little bit weird. And then there's the manual model. If you have the manual, the pedals are quite offset, so you feel a little bit twisted behind the wheel. So really you want one of the excellent autos, especially one of the ones with paddle shifters. Then there's the control for the infotainment system. Now, it takes a little bit of getting used to, and even when you're up to speed, it's never quite as good or as slick as the iDrive system you get on a BMW X3.
But what about the Q5's off-roading ability?
As standard, all models get hill descent control, so you can just go down a slope and not even have your feet on the pedals. Look, there we go. And the car does the braking for you to take you down nice and gently. Not that you'd want to sit like this, it's a bit ridiculous really. The thing is though, it might have this feature, but overall, if you want to do serious off-roading, you're going to need something like a Land Rover Discovery Sport. Finally, there's the pricing, because the Audi Q5 is just a little bit more expensive than its main rivals. Don't worry though, because you'll get a lot of that cash back when you come to sell it on, because these things are highly desirable. Now you can get full pricing details on our website by clicking the link above my head. If you click on that video window, you can watch our review of the Land Rover Discovery Sport. If you click that window, you can watch our review of the BMW X3, and please click on our logo to subscribe to our channel. And if you're watching on mobile, click the links below the video, as they do exactly the same thing.